Hello everyone, and welcome back to SafeSpace Podcast. I'm Vijay Hari, and today we have a very special episode for Women's History Month. We are deep diving into the conversation that goes beyond empowerment. We are talking about true system wide change. Our topic for today is breaking barriers, accelerating action, and specifically for women leading the workplace revolution. So, we are going to definitely talk about how women can break barriers across various stages of their life cycle, especially with Women's Day coming in. So, first of all, wishing you all out there a very, very happy International Women's Day and celebrate it. Feel empowered, support all those people around you. With that, I'm happy to introduce our guest here. So we have Dr. Vasundhara Kaul. She's an educator, mental health practitioner, a well-being coach with over 18 years of work experience. She is a founding partner of Carpe Edgeside Consulting. Vasundhara has spent years shaping how individuals and organizations approach learning leadership, communication, and well-being. She has curated countless programs on emotional intelligence, conflict resolution, diversity, equity, inclusion, leadership, and stress management. Vasundhara, we are so excited to have you on this episode of the Safe Space podcast. Welcome once again.
Thank you so much, Vijay. An absolute pleasure and honor to be here. Lovely talking to you always, and wishing everyone a very, very happy International Women's Day. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful, Vasundhara. So before we deep dive for our audience, can you share a bit about your journey and what are the barriers you had to overcome in your life to reach this stage?
Sure, Vijay. Today I get introduced as a mental health practitioner and coach, and I've been working in that field for a while now. But not too many people know that I started off in a very male-dominated banking profession. So I started off as a banker about 20 years ago, and even today I'm told that nothing much has changed there. But I think one of the biggest barriers that I felt, and I continue to feel that women face today, is to be able to have everything put together, right? We want to be this perfect corporate professional. We want to be this perfect mother, daughter-in-law, sister-in-law, and the gifts have to be packed right. The food on the table has to be right, and to add it all, the team management, the leadership, everything has to have it right. So I remember that at one point in my career, I was heading an all-men team, and I think the expectation also that, given that I'm a woman, possibly a little more empathetic towards leave sanctioning, a little more empathetic towards targets which had to be met. With that, of course, as I moved on and kind of transacted into the journey as a mental health practitioner, I realized that we are all but the same set of people. And no matter where we are, it is the same set of challenges to be able to have everything together as being our biggest barrier. So no matter which industry we work in, no matter where we are, no matter whether we are juggling between work and home front, or a homemaker, it is that perfectionism that I find is our biggest killing.
I think well summarized. I think and this is applicable to women of all age and all women working in all industries of all categories of all job levels. So
Yes.
definitely, I think as women, we are creating our own barriers which has to be broken. So moving on further, let's rethink work beyond gender. We push for women in male-dominated fields, but do we make space for men in roles seen as women's work? How do you see this playing out in workplaces and in society?
I think a very, very important question to answer, because, over the years, as we've kind of spoken about women's rights, equal pay options, and things like that, women in STEM, and all of those pushes that we've been doing in both the sets of fraternities that I now work in, which is the education space and the mental health space. Again, those professions are very women dominated. right? And I think as a society we still haven't opened up too much to having individuals who are of another gender coming into a space which is very women dominated. So I think that barrier also needs to break. As part of most of our trainings, we do this exercise where we ask individuals to say, visualize a nurse, or visualize a teacher, or visualize someone in a very feminine kind of role setup, and invariably people will be thinking of the women in those roles, right? You don't think of a male nurse, you don't think of a male teacher. I think that's where society in general, when we're looking at gender equity, should not kind of look at it only from a women centric perspective, and we do need to move on and have conversations about more from a gender neutral perspective, and irrespective of the gender I choose to belong to, or I choose for myself. If my competence is there for a given role, I should be able to take that up. It should not be that only a set specific should go into manufacturing, or a set specific should go into teaching. I should have the competence and I should be able to make it through, and that is very clearly something that I truly believe in.
Yeah. Wonderful. So that actually just reminds me of one of the conversations that I was having with my son, who's currently in his 12th grade. So he was saying that one of his classmates, one of his besties, in fact, he is very good at making dishes and baking, and making biryani. And he wanted to get into catering after his 12th grade, or look at
Correct.
his management, right? That is
Correct.
something that he wanted to pursue, but all his families and friends were saying like, why not do this, why don't you get into the mainstream engineering, and then if you still have passion, but then pursue, kind of
Correct.
dissuade him, right? Still
Yeah.
king,
Still,
and yeah,
in fact,
it's
I have a son at home, and these days, my pet project, apart from the fact that he's giving his boards, is also to enthuse him into coming into the kitchen, enthuse him into making one or two dishes. And invariably, the people who work for me, they are in awe. They're like, "Oh, why are you doing this?" And like I'm in that mode of communicating, saying that why not? Eventually, say cooking is also a life skill, right? But
right.
as a society, it is very kind of attached itself to a more feminine outlook, or caring, or the fact that you love your baby and you want to be with your baby after the birth is also very natural. However, paternity leave, while we have it in policies, is looked down upon in the practical sense very often, right? So yeah, I kind of agree with you
Yeah,
there.
right. So moving on, women are still fighting a lot. I think equal pay is something far fetched, but even getting the basic respect, be it
Yes.
at home or at work, is still a long dream, which we are still have a long way to go. What are some of the biggest barriers faced in truly leading the workplace revolution, and how do we start breaking these barriers down, Vasundhara?
Over the many conversations in, say, training programs or otherwise as well, even one-on-one sessions during, say, coaching exercises, etc. I feel the biggest one is our unconscious biases. Sometimes we don't even realize that we are talking in a particular way, or we are kind of meaning something, and it comes out in a particular way. And our unconscious biases, which are there at home, say I'm not contributing so much at home, and I see this see a person being very ambitious and very career oriented in office. I don't see that tying in. So over a period of time, I feel more than all the conversations that we bring into the workplace in terms of ensuring that there's equal pay, which is a policy, or hiring more women, which is again a policy. If it were to just become everyday DNA as part of our execution in the workplace, that is where I see it actually happening. Now it's easier said than done, right? I say it should become a part of the DNA. It's not going to become part of the DNA. It's only when conversations become dinner table conversations, when work starts happening in an equitable manner at home, and women start talking about those journeys. So recently I've seen that trend changing. I'm thankful for that trend, where individuals, when they take a call, a stay at home father takes a call of sharing that journey on social media, or a mother who takes a call for kind of helping out with certain agenda at the family, shares that journey. I think we need to talk about it a lot more in our everyday lives, is when it'll become more than just a written down policy, because policies are well drafted. I think there's enough and more on the policy front happening just now, but none of that seems to be translating in an equal measure when we actually get down to, say, giving someone leave, accepting the fact that I can have a woman as a boss. I can be talking in a particular manner when there are women around me. So we still have to break that barrier. And in a lot of places, I think the barrier of the mindset, where there are these conversations, which you would have also heard of those, where I don't want to hire an ex person, because eventually the person might not be there for a very long period of time. So there's a glass ceiling which most women face in the leadership area as well. So you don't reach decision making roles to then eventually be influencing enough. But I think everyday conversations need to change at home for each of us, before we can actually hope that our workplaces change in exactly the same manner.
Very well said, Vasundhara. I think my next question is exactly on that. Considering your practice as being a wellness coach on emotional intelligence as well, how can women, let's first talk from the women's perspective, how can women seek support? A lot of times they hesitate or they do not push back. What should women do to seek her help and support in a nice manner and not see if they keep demanding, saying, hey, no one's helping me, no one, people just say, hey, this person is
Correct.
crying a lot and no one's going to come and
Yeah,
support.
you're being a sissy, perhaps.
Yes.
Yeah.
What can women actually do at home and at work as well?
So I'll go from personal space first. I was a person who got married young. I fortunately I do have a very supportive family, and very often when I share some of my ideas, a lot of my friends say, "Oh, you are lucky." Right, you are lucky. Not everyone has it in the same manner as you, and you are getting to do the things you love doing because there's support at home. But to each of those set of friends, and to everyone else, I've also realized that in the most progressive of households, it is only when we stand up for ourselves and talk for ourselves, is that people actually listen. Otherwise, even in the most progressive of households, eventually it becomes that you have to do a certain set of things, and that's an expectation. So it comes back to that perfection cycle that I was talking about, because we ourselves are expecting everything around us, and we take everything very personally, right? So if, say, your son doesn't do well in studies, personal agenda only. Food gets burnt on the table, personal responsibility only. Right, you kind of take leave, and you don't make it to the bonus cycle, etc. Again, everything is circling back, and I see that with a lot of my clients, where everything is about circling back to why I didn't do it well. Right, so that's the first thing. I need to acknowledge the fact that I do have self doubt. You can only take care of self doubt, you can only take care of what is it that you want to do for yourself and have a voice, if you first acknowledge that you are the first ones pulling yourselves back. It took me a while to do that for myself, where I said, no, I am going to have a voice of my own. And really it takes a lot of energy, because societally we are not built like that. Right, we have to accept that. So change also does not happen overnight. It's not that I want to kind of be a flag bearer and say, okay, now I'm going to fight and be on dharna. that also is not how life can work. And so that's the piece. The first thing that I would want each of us, as women, to do is to be able to be a listening ear for another person. So I said that I am lucky to have say what my friends tell me is a very progressive household. However, I should also have the empathy for someone who may not be in the same boat, without allowing the person to be overly sympathetic about themselves either. Because only when you raise that little voice of yours is where someone will hear. Someone in this world is going to be there to hear you, and that's what I would want for each one of us.
Yeah. I think beautifully said for women. I wish I was taught about all these things, or someone had told me as tips when I got married personally, and that's something that I feel like I have to give back to the society. It's very
Correct.
important. You said that break that perfectionism, right? We
Hmm.
do not have to carry that. I think that is something that very very important for all women to carry that forward. And what you said about self doubt, again, stop doubting yourself. It's equal responsibility that everyone shares. And small voices does
Yeah.
matter. Pick your battles is my mantra that I keep following. Is it worth picking a battle or not?
Correct.
That is something that I think it's slow thing. I think slow and steady. I think keep raising the voice. I mean, keep sharing your concerns in a slow and steady manner, and I'm sure things will change over at some point of view. Beautifully, beautifully summarized. What
Yeah.
about work, Vasundhara? Is something, yes, what you said definitely at home definitely does work. What about at work? The biases that are there. I see a lot of
Yes.
patriarchal mindset that is still there. Why should we even hire a women? Anyway, they're going to go on maternity leave, right? Or they don't stay back after 5 o'clock. So why should we hire them? See, these are some of the things that even women managers have asked questions in my inclusion workshops and breaking bias workshops and everything. What can women do? The stereotypes, microaggressions, and the bias. How can they break these at work?
I'm possibly going to pick a few battles where the next answer, but I think it's a tightrope walk between deciding, like you said, I'm going to kind of take away from what you also said in terms of picking your battles, because the reality is that if we want to be treated in an equitable manner, I do need to kind of make myself capable enough of that equitable, responsibility. So unless I make myself competent enough, unless I train myself equally enough, allow myself to go through the various learning responsibilities, the various challenges, etc., it is easy for to hear saying, oh, you are playing the woman's card by saying you're not going to do this, or playing the woman's card of saying that you're not going to do that. But of what I hear from women who've been able to do that tightrope walk, not saying that it's been easy for them, but everyone says that if you are competent, if people know over a period of time that you've done successful projects, you've led things, you have done your work with consistency, etc., they come around, because everyone wants a good performer, and everyone's looking forward to good work to happen. So then the blur between, oh, this is a woman doing it, or a male doing it, kind of becomes lesser and lesser. That is one aspect, that we cannot demand that we should be paid equally unless you are worthy enough of that equal pay. So there is that effort that needs to go in, which means that if there are a few extra hours, you need to then pick your battles at home and figure out if there's support, there's any kind of mechanism where there is that balance, because your work is also equally important versus someone else's at home. The second piece is, which is the reality piece in a patriarchal environment, where yes, for sure, it is like a push and shove that needs to happen. And just as we talk about inclusion, where acceptance only comes with awareness, I think from a gender bias perspective as well, it is evidence based work, empathy generating work, and eventually you providing that evidence that I am capable of doing this work, not necessarily by shouting at the rooftop, but actually being a part of the workplace. So the second part is that you constantly need to train. Organizations need to invest in that. Organizations need to invest in conversations and discussions where, when they find this patriarchal mindset coming on more and more, is when they need to increase awareness, because that's a battle that individuals can take up, but with greater difficulty. And therefore it's more of an organizational responsibility also, to be able to over a period of time change that conversation. But at an individual level, I feel, work on your competence and you will be heard in the room, is what I'll say.
Yeah, I think brilliant. So I was just reading about, I was looking at some metrics in terms of how communication, your appearance, and the gravitas
Yeah.
actually makes so much sense for women. Like communication contributes around 22% of
Yes.
what you speak, how you speak in
Correct.
situations, and people are going to judge you based on that. Your appearance, not much. I thought appearance carried a lot of weight, but I was surprised to see that it carries only 5% weightage.
uh,
How you look, how you walk and carry yourself. But the
yes.
majority, I think 67% actually of the weightage is given to gravitas, which
Hmm.
is how you're able to handle certain situations, right? How
Yes.
competent. I think that is what exactly what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And it also reminded me when you spoke, like how in cricket they say, ignore the critics and let your bat speak, right?
Yes.
How
Yes.
batters, they just show their work. I think that's something that we as women, again at work, let your job speak for itself, right?
Correct.
I think that's something that's a beautiful thing. I think competence is something that's very important. And I think a lot of women, somewhere or the other, one trigger point, trigger after trigger, they think, hey, is it even worth? Let me quit my job,
Yeah.
right? Maybe there could be a trigger at home, a maid quitting, or your nanny has quit the job, or a
Correct.
boss who is being very, very micromanaging you. So these are things that can trigger you, but
Correct.
don't let all of these small, small things hit you. But I think it's very important that as women, we overcome all of these and let our work speak. The competence is, I think I completely agree on that. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. So wonderful. So I'm moving on to our last section, a quick rapid fire round. This
Okay.
is something that we do in all our podcasts. So a quick instinctive answer from you, Vasundhara. A workplace myth that needs to go.
I feel that a woman needs to behave like a man to do the right thing. I think you just have to be your authentic self, and what you said. You don't need to wear trousers to do it any differently. So I think you have to just be your authentic self, no matter who you are, and you'll do well.
Tips for women to overcome self doubt.
Something that I said earlier, that the first thing is acceptance that you are doubting yourself. Once you are accepting that, find what works for you, to kind of keep you calm. Because as a mental health practitioner, I'll tell you that as soon as you are overstressed, you're not thinking rationally. Without getting into details, that's the piece that you need to figure out. How is it that you're going to be able to calm yourself? For someone it's yoga, for someone it's something else, but figure that out, because that's when you'll be able to think of your rational choices as well.
What is the biggest mindset shift needed to lead with confidence?
In the current world, and I was just reading an article day before yesterday, where from a VUCA world we're moving into what is known as a flex world. I think adaptability and flexibility on all accounts. The world is changing rapidly. The challenges are very different from 20 years ago, and I think having the ability to adapt, no matter who you are, where you are, and being flexible in your outlook is going to be the next set of key things. Of course. Things are not going to remain the same always. So a little bit of resilience would also definitely help.
Three must do for women to hashtag accelerate action and grow in their career.
I think as hashtag have a voice. Hashtag look for allies at home and in the workplace. Ask for help both at home and in the workplace whenever you feel you cannot do it all. And the third piece would be that believe in yourself, be you. You know, if you can be you, you'll just be fine.
Brilliant. we must do for men to support women at home and at work?
In the changing world that we are, and all this conversation that we are doing, not look at a a gender training or a gender training with the eyes saying, oh, should I attend this or not attend this. It would be good to be able to be an ally, to be aware, and once you're aware, figure out how is it that you can create that safe space in whichever, so whether you're an independent role or a team manager role, whether you decide the policies or you don't, eventually if you can be an ally both at home and in the workplace, that's something that will help the woman also to accelerate growth. And I think it's not about the gender, it's also about ensuring that we realize that the diversity that we have in the workplace brings in a lot more yeah, compassion, a lot more profitability, a lot more positivity in the workplace as well. So I think that's the piece I would say.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, just as a closing note, when women rise, the entire home rises, the organization rises, and the economy of the country as well rises and prospers. So
True.
I think beautiful conversation, Dr. Vasundhara. Wish we had a longer time to discuss this, but we have to close this podcast. Lovely. Thanks for the incredible conversation. Thank you for sharing your insights, experience, and practical wisdom with us, and for the eye-opening discussion. And to our listeners, let's take these conversations beyond this podcast. Change doesn't happen overnight, but every small step counts. Keep questioning, keep pushing for equity, and most importantly, keep writing the rules, rewriting the rules so that workplaces work for everyone. So, with that, I'm Vijay Hari. You can write to me on vijay at securus.com. If you're interested in any specific topics, do let me know. Or if you want to be a guest on this podcast, I'll be happy to host you. Do write to me, vijay at securus.com. Thank you, Dr. Vasundhara.
Thank you so much, Vijay.